I love printing. I love printing. I love it. I f***ing love printing. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Printer to Printer with me, Warren Werbitt, also known as the Print Whisperer. Today we have a different show. Today we are going to talk about a new way of doing surveys. You all know, or you should know, because you've seen all my posting, that I'm involved with Imagine AI Live coming up March 27th, 8th in Vegas. Go on, buy your tickets, call me for a discount code. I'll help you get there. So now getting back to the show, I have on with me today Zach Kidd. How you doing, Zach?
I'm good. How are you?
I am spectacular. Thanks so much.
You look
before I say any more, I'm going to let Zach do a little intro into the software that he is building. And then we'll get into why I think there could be some benefits and, to interact with our clients, to allow our clients to interact with their clients. So take it away, Zach. Give me a summary.
Thanks, Warren. So AskHumans is a platform that allows businesses and organizations to collect open-ended feedback from their customers, their employees, or other stakeholders. Fundamentally, what we're trying to do is use large language models as a tool for customer research. One of the interesting things that's occurred in the last 6 or 8 months is that basically prior to 2023, computers just didn't understand language. And so as a result of computers not understanding language, anything that you did from the 1980s to 2022, 2023 really required some sort of survey tool where you were tabulating, people's, interests on a scale of 1 to 10 or, this or that, because it was just basic arithmetic adding up all of those numbers. But now, Warren, that we can actually have services that can understand language, you don't need that tabulation anymore. And you can literally create a platform that allows people just to talk. And for the computer system to understand their intent and what they're saying and their sentiment, et cetera. And so that's what we're building with AskHumans.
For those of you that were listening and are saying, what's he talking about? I'm going to give you like the printer breakdown in layman's term. Forget the fact that I didn't sleep much last night because I was out at a great show at John Petit. But anyway, so basically when we were talking the other day, I went online, talking with Zach online, and then he had me go on and he walked me through through the program, and as if I was going on to do a critique of a restaurant. And it was really cool because you pick up the phone and you put in your email and your name so everyone knows who you are, because it's all about the data. But after, I didn't have to scroll or punch or do anything or drop my phone because I got big chubby thumbs. I pushed the button record and I said everything I wanted about the restaurant that I was at and what I ordered and how I felt and what I thought of the food and the service and the ambiance and whatever I wanted to say. And then afterwards, you showed me the back end where it came up, and the way it was all broken down in a full audio recording and then a summary of the key points, good or bad, broken down. And I was like, oh my God, done with those QR surveys and Survey Monkey.
Right.
Like, who wants to keep pushing buttons? Like, talking's the way to go.
Yeah. So, thank you. I mean, that, show don't tell. And maybe, I don't know if we can put up some B-roll or whatever in the future. But I think one of the cool things is, it's all verbal based, but when you just take a step out and you just look at where technology is going, whether it's your car, whether it's your home, whether it's your telephone, at the end of the day,
it's all the phone.
Well, and there's a spectrum of typing, using your thumbs to text, and then, for inputting, and then eventually just talking. And then sort of the step, beyond talking will be Neuralink and thinking. But, these control mechanisms become smarter as a path, as a function of doing less manual input and more verbal input. So the Siris, the Alexas, the Google Homes of the world, none of those have keypads. It's all voice-based. And this is something, if you think of Star Trek, right? Like they're just talking, generally speaking, or touching glass, but it's mostly talking, even Data, it's himself is just a robot that takes audio and visual input. And so when you look at like the current state of affairs, and these businesses are trying to understand what people think, the survey, the paper survey is kind of a relic. However, the durability of the printed word is priceless. And so I think that there's a bridge here to be built between, what a commercial printer can do in terms of turning their signage or their product into something that's much smarter, that allows for, their clients' customers or their own customers to interact in a way that's very meaningful.
What I like about it is really like just the whole talking thing, first of all. And when we were talking the other day, I said to you, I'm in a restaurant and I'm really not enjoying my meal. And the waitress comes by after and says, "How was it?" And I look at her and I go, "Oh my God, that was great." And then she walks away and I say to myself, "You moron, why didn't you tell her the truth?" Right? And the real reason is, even though it's not her restaurant, I don't think people in general want to insult or make other people feel anything but good if they can avoid making them feel bad. And when she passed me back after, I stopped her and I said, "Ma'am," I said, "I got to be honest with you and I'm trying to change. I don't know why I said it was good. It was awful." Right? And she was like, "Oh my God, we appreciate that because we want the truth." But then I thought, how good is this app for being kind to the waitress at the table, but after telling the restaurant owner what you really think and thought?
There's a human condition there of sort of, wanting to have agency. And so when you're talking to somebody, part of a larger organization, and you understand that your experience that you are having with regards to that organization is not driven by their own judgment. You're not talking to the owner, you're talking to the store manager, or you're not talking to the owner, you're talking to the waitress. You are sort of, attenuated to some extent of like, well, like, I have an opinion, but does it really matter if I share it? And it might just be like a net negative because, she might be, she might be having a shitty day. And I don't want to sort of add on to that, and so that empathy that you have is really wonderful. And I think, there should be a good dose that we share all around.
The world could use a little bit more empathy.
Putting themselves in other people's shoes for sure. But I do think that there is something to be said though about when you recognize that there's a system in place that will actually take that anecdotal feedback that you have, positive or negative, and actually run it up a chain for decisions to be made. And I think that really sort of comes into play with any sort of integration of how an organization is collecting feedback and acting on that feedback. I have a, and I think in sort of this gigafied economy in which you have, these enterprises having basically 1099 workers as employees, when you have this rating system on an Instacart or an Uber, I do think you have confidence that actually means something. And so like, that's an example. That's a very recent example of sort of, of like measurement, like a measurement system that I think people believe is effective. And I think that's, potentially where AskHumans goes to in terms of showing how organizations can have an integrated way to collect feedback. And that integration has to begin with what's printed, as along with what's displayed. Because at the end of the day, what is displayed, whether it's a digital sign or it's a printed billboard or it's a printed menu, that visual information that's communicated should be consistent and should be integrated.
Yeah, no, I think it's absolutely should be. And the world today, it's like, in the print industry, it's always been, well, actually it was Google and Apple who started the print is dead slogan when all the when all the computing came out and everyone wanted to go paperless, which I think now we all know is not really possible.
I can tell by your office.
I print more paper. Well, I have to print everything to read it, first of all.
I see a lot of files.
Yeah, no, I'm a visual guy. Like I can't, and if it's printed in front of me, I know what I have to go back to. If I make all these lists
For
on
sure.
the computer, I keep forgetting. But as the world goes on, so print's always been, the last bunch of years, print's dead, print's dead. Print is anything but dead. Print is out there. It might change. Business cards and letterhead might be dead, but packaging, signage, labeling, information, graphics, everything, all the advertising, it's on the rise. So there's always been those two sides of print, no print. But I think today, it started, if I think back to AOL, because AOL used to print tens of millions of those CD cases, and I would be an AOL user and I'd still get 10 more in the mail.
Yeah.
So they made some printer very rich. But as we fast forward today, there is always going to be a connection between print and digital. And for anyone who thinks that there is none or will be rid of print is not. I think we have to embrace both of them and find ways to interact with both of them, to use them each for the benefits.
Right. I mean, like, and also, isn't there something kind of beloved about a printed magazine or newspaper, something that you can read?
Not newspaper because your hands get dirty, but magazine.
I think that's actually quite charming, right? Like, there's something about, like, I think of, like, I'm building a backyard sauna. And so my current dilemma right now is, do I get an electric sauna heater or do I get a wood burning sauna heater? And I got to tell you, like, what?
Can you do both?
Well, no, you cannot. You could, I mean, I guess you could, but like, there's not, the room isn't there, but there's something kind of like, romantic about chopping some wood and putting it in the fire and then, heating the sauna. Like, there's similarly, and even if you smell a little bit like ash afterwards, or if you get some, similarly like reading a newspaper, and getting some, ink on your fingers.
Right.
But what I was going to say prior to that is just like, there is a sort of a, like, almost like a Thoreau type of freedom in like interacting with the printed word, without anybody seeing you do that. And, at the end of the day, when I'm on my like tablet, I know that, my behavior on my tablet will track to an algorithm, which will serve up more personalized ads in the future to me. So all I'm saying is that I think that not only is there a place for print in the future, there's actually a sacred place for print in terms of how we can sort of protect our own humanity, in a sense of like not always being surveyed by others or not always being tracked by another, organization, et cetera.
Oh, I couldn't agree more with you, until, well, you know what? They can put NFC chips in printed product and tags. So
yeah.
You are trackable, but no, you're 100% right? It's all, but even print, like, I go fishing. So there's, I don't want a fish mount. I want a wicked picture taken by a great photographer of me with the fish.
Oh man, I think fishing is the most brutal activity. I mean, here you are swimming along with your family because you travel with schools of fish. You're about to eat something and then you're pulled up by your lower jaw and dislocated into an asphyxiating environment, then bopped on the head or thrown back in the water.
You make it sound so evil.
I
lightly reel them in. I gently pick them up for the picture. I hook them right in the corner of the mouth. And then I put them back to swim away. I don't kill them.
Okay. They just can't.
Right?
I know. You are not just the print whisperer. You are the fish whisperer too, I'm sure.
Well, listen, man beating up a fish, man beating up another man in the ring. What's the difference? Right?
Consent, but keep going.
Well, listen, I don't eat them. Don't eat them.
Fish?
What? No, I do, but not the stuff I catch. It's usually sport fishing.
Okay, gotcha.
It's, so, okay, and then another great thing that can be done with this, the whole, online survey thing and Ask Humans is, what about the return back to the users after? Like, what do the end customers that are getting the surveys doing with all of the information that they get?
You know, back in the day, if you owned one shop, let's say you own a shoe shop, or you own you're a barber or something like this, you could talk to everybody who goes in there, right? And you could have a personal relationship with everybody who goes into your shop. And that sort of anecdotal information that a person can collect just by understanding what people think of their products or services is incredibly valuable. And, that's why, like, back in the day with like Aaliyah at Coco, you have sort of like the management by walk around, sort of championed, sort of get out of the ivory tower, get out of the C-suite and actually get down to the floor. And so what we're really trying to deliver is that level of information, but at scale. So the whole idea is, like, if you're a hotelier and you have, multiple locations, how impressive would it be if you can have a 2 to 3 minute conversation with everybody who checks out of the hotel, and they can sort of share with you what they thought. And the nice thing about that is when you're doing an open-ended question, because you're not restricted by a form, you're just saying, hey, what do you think? Tell us about your experience. And it's verbal. One, when people are talking, they're just super verbose, right? I mean, just in this conversation, we're probably at 8,000 to 15,000 words of text between us, just because we're chatting back and forth. And that's actually what happens on the platform. People will talk for a minute, and all of a sudden they have hundreds of words of feedback, for the client. So that's really, really important. The second thing to that, though, is just keeping on that hotelier's perspective. They're really encouraged to incentivize that participation, because having that 2 to 3 minute feedback from a guest is actually worth a lot to them. It's worth a lot more because that guest might talk about, oh, it was dog friendly, and I really loved the fact that it was dog friendly, and there was a washroom, for my dog in the basement. Like, I never even knew of a hotel to do that. It's awesome that you guys have that. Or somebody else might talk about, like, really love the fact that there was a balcony, but it was kind of noisy, in my room.
If only the doors opened.
Yeah. So, people could just express as they wish. And again, not be restricted to a form of 15 or 20 questions, because the problem with those forms. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I was actually holding back, but then you stopped me. So it's perfect. But I was going to say, you think about the hotels, you think about the form. So I'm a guy who likes to fill out the forms because I like to give feedback. Right. And I go into it openly. But at some point when the questions don't end, I don't finish and I check out. Right. So they got a willing participant who they hired in that process. And then I see your app, AskHumans, and I'm thinking, oh my God, for a guy who likes to talk, this is wonderful.
Yeah.
Right. Because I would in the room, if they had a sign or something that came up on the TV and you click and you go in, and I could take a minute and just blurt out whatever I'm feeling. That's effortless. The truth is, filling out a form is an effort.
Right, because it deals with asymmetry, right? Because when you're creating that form as the creator, you have to say, okay, like, what are all the things that I think could be a topic that I want feedback on, and that creates this ridiculously long list of, I got to talk, value, quality, service, interior, exterior, amenities, et cetera.
But it's not even the long list. I find a lot of times the questions, the options they give you, and not just the hotel. I go online, there's a company I want to get information from, or I'm joining, and then they have this whole questionnaire, and I'm thinking, you're not even near asking me the right questions, and I can't respond because my answer is not almost this, none of the above, or it's too broad, right? To try to get everyone. So I think with your program, you're going to get way more people participating in the feedback, because it's fun, different, new, but also because it's really easy, and people get to talk in their own voice.
And you can multitask. You could be walking the dog and giving your feedback, at the same time.
Limited multitasking.
Limited.
I have a hard time doing that, by the way. Like I fall or lose my mind. Watch out for the parking meter. But no, I think that the opportunity for this in customer feedback in all levels, is off the charts for modernizing it.
Well, how do you feel like the print industry as a whole has played a role in helping organizations gather feedback from their customers?
Nah, not really.
Not really.
Well, I mean, what could we do? Nothing. I don't think there's anything that we could really do other than print the forms to give them and ask them to give them out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that. But you know what? Selfishly now, thinking of this from the printing industry, if a company wants to, sign up and do the QR code, you could send out an email with a QR code or even a mailing with a postcard or a personalized mail with the QR code, asking the customer to give you feedback on the job. You can ask the product manager to forward that to their sales reps to get feedback on how the product was produced. Is it right? Do they feel it's good? Is it shiny? Is it not? Is it not effective? Is the print bad? There's so many, I just see so many avenues for more data on responses that you then, because isn't the world today about the data and then personalizing and crafting things for people?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's also like the old adage, sell the vacation, don't sell the airline ticket. And so if you are, a printing company, and let's say you're doing, displays for the next conference, step and repeats, you could imagine, especially if you have a graphic design practice within the printing company, maybe, I'm not sure, but you can imagine asking customers like, how has this helped your event? Or like how, how has it been helpful to have, this printed stock in addition to what what else you're doing in terms of communicating about your brand, just different sort of value statements there that you ask the customer to sort of give feedback on, which is of course reinforcing as they retell the value, they value it more.
So the most amazing thing about what you said is the printer now has the opportunity to do that and to ask. As it stands right now, I'm going to say that you could probably count on my two hands and maybe my toes the amount of printers that might actually go back to the customer for that type of information.
Yeah.
Because most printers don't know how to go about it. But if you're listening to this, you have a way to go about it. Right. And the smart ones with this program or not are finding ways to interact and communicate with their clients. So the top people are smart. This will make their life easier. But for the majority, this could put you in a place of client appreciation like no other.
Yeah.
Because then your client all of a sudden is like, oh my God, you're asking questions. You have solutions for me even that I could then use on my end with my customers. It's like a never ending, trail of, left foot, hand, keep walking, keep moving, and everything's just kind of going and connecting.
The other thing too, as I'm thinking about it, is that most organizations, if we're just to look at print as a proxy for a method of advertising, every other channel of advertising is some level of sort of shared revenue. You are paying for Google ads in order to put your ads on Google. You are paying a TV commercial in order to put your commercial on local TV. The interesting thing about print is you don't have that play as much. Like what you pay the printer to print, you own entirely and you don't share with anybody else. Maybe you have some like display arrangements, but potentially, I'm not sure. But you really do have a larger chunk of that. And I think I think that's interesting. I think that when it comes to, at the end of the day, especially with many of these many businesses, you just don't want to become a commodity, sort of the lowest cost. You of course want to be the highest value. And I think that probably a lot of the work that you do, Warren, talking to people. Not me
personally, by the way, I'm a high-end guy. But I'm sitting here and I'm slumping in my chair because a good part of my industry it is a race to the bottom line, because I'll just say it like this, because they don't know any better.
Yeah.
Right. And they don't know about the upside and how to turn. So they just rode downstream.
Yeah.
Makes me crazy. So again, this is another element that ties into print that could help companies elevate themselves.
It goes into strategic communications. You know, if you are, you maybe give me some examples, but like if you are interacting, with a company as a printer, this is a really interesting tool in your tool chest that you can say, hey, let me show you how we can integrate customer research and customer experience measurement into all of these elements that we're doing for you. And you don't have to worry about the technology because, it's paired with AskHumans and we drive that. You really become a hero in talking to your clients. I'll give you one example. We work with a lot of universities. And so when students take campus tours, they are given an AskHumans study to say, how was that tour? Because, the universities are very, very keen on understanding, seniors in high school, what do they think about their campuses, as an example. All those universities have significant printing, mechanisms in play there. And again, just, hey, did you think about how we can integrate AskHumans into what we're doing here? You probably don't get more bang for the buck on a square inch of printed material than what AskHumans can sort of give you.
I'll agree with that. Yeah, no, I think I think it's endless. I think it's really, and it's just, listen, the world's not stopping with technology, right? And I think it's important that we just find ways to intertwine it with everything that we do, because I think it's been proven you just can't drop one of anything ever and just go entirely with it. People think it's going to be paperless, wireless, this, that. I still need to connect by a wire sometimes. I have to have it in the house for emergencies when something goes down and I want to connect right to the modem.
Yep.
Right. Print. Love. You know what? I love my phone. Well, we're all married to our phones. I go to the airport. I still like to print out my barcode, my boarding pass. Why? Because my luck is every time I get to the gate, the thing's not working. I can't get it up. And then I have opportunity to get on the plane first. And then I'm the last guy to get on. And I have to check my carry-on because there's no more room because the computer phone didn't work.
I mean, at the end of the day, technology is social. It's fundamentally social. And so regardless of however cool whatever widget is, it has to be used by people. And if it's not used by people, it's not technology.
No, exactly. Listen, I'm still like, I love the phone, the buying, the online commerce. I go sit in the can. I like Bass Pro Shops magazine because I like to flip the pages and fold the pages over and I can go back to them easy. You cannot go back to a page easily in a book or a catalog on your phone.
And it's a shame that they eliminated the Victoria's Secrets catalog then.
Yeah, no, and that one too. You don't want that digital. You want that in paper. Listen, so we're going to come to an end, but I'll just leave you with a funny one. And I'm just finishing up actually a book about my career and whatnot to help with my consulting stuff. But when we're doing the book and I'm sitting with my person who's asking me questions, just to get the thoughts going. And he said to me, so what was the first time that you were really excited by print? And I said to him, I'm going to answer you, but I want to make sure that we put it in the book the way I'm saying it. I go, if I go back to when I was like 11 or 12 and I opened up the Sears catalog and I got to the lingerie section, I said, that's when print excited me. Everything was jumping off the page. I was sweating. I couldn't turn the page. I even took the magazine into my room. I said, print has an impact on everybody, whether you realize it or not.
Yeah.
Right? Kids today might be a little different. It's on the phone, but that's when print got me excited.
I think that it's funny. I was looking this up before we talked. For the first 400 years, like in the Common Era, there was like papyrus and it was like vellum, right? It wasn't like cotton, linen. And it took another like 500 years, like 800 CE for paper to sort of get into Europe and to be used. That's just incredible.
Everything took a long time then. Now it's today, tomorrow, and 400 new things are invented.
No, it's really interesting to see where things will go. But I do think that one thing will not change, which is the joy of having some ink on a finger and being able to read something in a coffee shop.
Ink on a finger, love that one. I was even thinking about all the 700 gigabytes I have in the cloud of pictures that if I don't go to, probably won't see again. But then I look at the few books that were printed, picture books that were printed of trips, fishing trips, family vacation that sit on the table. I end up actually walking by them in the living room at any odd time and picking them up and looking through them. Non-printed stuff does not get looked at.
My background is in economics, but listen, it's clear to me that you print what matters, in part because.
And by the way, print matters.
Yes, and print matters fundamentally because it's a scarce resource. You can only have so many linear feet of shelving in your home for books, or you could have only so many pages in a journal, or you could have only so many signs on a wall. And the challenge with anything that's digital is it's unlimited. It's limitless, and therefore you don't have to make trade-offs in terms of what you keep or what you store.
Right. It just doesn't get looked at maybe ever again.
Yeah, and that's why you don't send your mom. You print out the picture of you and your mom to give to her for Mother's Day. You don't just
You're not sending it through an email
over text message like Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Although I'm sure there's plenty of people that are doing it like that, but it's cool. Wow. Anyway, wow. This was, first of all, just great to hook up and connect with you, because what a great education I've had since we started talking about this. And I'm smiling because I'm just thinking of all the opportunities. And, when you live in the worlds you live in or the industries you live in, to everybody, get out and talk to someone who does something else. It'll give you other ideas with what you're doing on how to craft things. Because we all get stuck on the treadmill of working on what we work, and we think it all day and every day. But wow, man, Zach, this was like awesome. Before I kick you off, is there anything that you want to add in and get in?
I really appreciate the conversation. So looking forward to seeing you in Vegas. And that should be a lot of fun.
Cool. Me too. To everybody listening, I really hope you made it to the end. If you didn't make it to the end, you're not hearing me, but you made a mistake. If you made it to the end, you want to tell someone to listen to this, because it's about print, but it's about technology. It's about the interaction of both. It's about us knowing that we all need to work together to, better. What are we here for? We're here to better our lives and to better our customers' lives. Anybody who wants, reach out to me anytime. I'm happy to talk about this. I could help set you up, teach, learn, see if we can't use it within your business. Again, if you have any ideas for the next show, if you want to hear anything special, if you have anyone you think I should talk to, please let me know. Otherwise, Zach, again, thank you. To everybody else, Warren Werbitt, what they think, and I love print and technology now. Till the next time, cheers.